presentation that was requested, so I'll get 15 minutes on the clock. Patrick, Supervisor Kennedy, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I take it this is about voting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. It was interesting, the timing, that there was a story on NPR this morning about the harassment that voting officials are facing throughout the country. And to the point where they feel completely demoralized doing what's essentially very, very important work for our democracy. And by continuing to perpetuate myths and conspiracies, we just continue to undermine what I think that everybody up here would agree is as good of a voter registrar's office staff. I put them up against anybody in the nation, and we've seen it. It hasn't always been that way, but I just feel like having a presentation like this at this time is unfortunate, and I do have another matter I need to attend to, and I will return.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Supervisor Kennedy. Okay. So with that, we're going to go ahead and. Okay, please. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and Debra Caparasso was the party who requested the 15 minutes, actually requested more than that, but 15 minutes is our board rule, so I got that up on the screen. I know you sent some, and Debra, you did some information to us in advance, so we do have that, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll start the clock. So are you going to be the only presenter, or are there others that are going to present?
There are other presenters, but they're off agenda. They're going to just...
Oh, okay. On item 16, is that where they signed up for? Right, speakers on item 16? Or they're off agenda? They've signed up?
They're, right. I think I'm the only one that signed up. And
yeah, to do the presentation. That's fine. Okay, because
right.
Again, I would, you're able to do that if there were others. But okay, so with that then, Debra, I'll let you introduce yourself and I'll start the clock.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Debra Caparasso, and I'm here to talk to you about election integrity. So the topic agendas is going to be the Dominion hardware and software, the DMV process for voter registration, California voting laws, and California's privacy. So I want to preface this by saying this is nonpartisan. This is asking you to understand that every vote needs to count, whether they're Republican, doesn't matter. It applies to everyone, all of your constituents. And I think everybody would agree that we want our vote to count. So over the last 2 years, there have been quite a lot of forensic audits throughout the U.S. And the Dominion system are, as with any other computer system, they are very open to hackability, and it has been proven that within minutes, the Dominion system can be hacked. Not only that when the machines are not connected to the local networks, they can be hacked wirelessly. And the Secretary of State and the vendors have the passwords to the Dominion system. The Dominion system also allows non-standard paper to be used. So I have actually witnessed on TV somebody taking ballots and just running them through, and then when that stack was done, they took the same stack and ran them through again. There's no way to stop that from happening. So USB drives are also, you can easily put a USB drive in and do whatever you want. So the bottom line on the Dominion system is, I understand that the contract was up in August. Is that accurate? That's what the agenda said.
Okay, so you're talking about item 16, so we can, I think folks we'll pull that off the consent calendar here in a moment, Debra, so if that's what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can get to that. You posed a question, we certainly can respond, but I think we'll go ahead and let you make your presentation. And
okay.
Yes, yeah,
Okay, so the bottom line is we want to eliminate the fraud that is made available via the computer, which is the Dominion system computer and software, the hardware and software. So The voting process includes multiple vulnerabilities, and it doesn't just stop at the Dominion systems, the computer hackable. The DMV process for voter registration. So we, as a result of a FOIA letter to the DMV, we asked if they validate whether a person coming to the DMV and getting a driver's license or a regular ID, California ID, and they basically said there is no requirement for the department to collect birthplace information or transmit such data to the California Secretary of State, and it does not do so. So it's very clear, and DMV doesn't validate whether a person is registering to vote is a U.S. citizen. So when you go to when you go to the Secretary of State's website, it says eligible California residents will be able to use the website to complete an online voter registration application, just as they can today. As part of the voter registration process, VoteCal will take the information submitted and conduct a check to see if the applicant has a signature on file at the DMV. That's beyond me. How do you validate that a person can register to vote and that they're a citizen by going to the DMV to verify they have a signature on file? You know, I've been in high tech for 20 years. My job was operations, building programs. The process part of a successful program, and this just sent up red flags. So it really told me that there is no validation whether a person is a U.S. citizen. So I take it to the next. So it's federal and state law that you must be a U.S. citizen to vote, and yet we don't verify citizenship. There is no accountability, there is no validation, and basically the Secretary of State's website says the person registering to vote is not liable. The Secretary of State takes no responsibility for validating whether a person is a U.S. citizen. So I go to 2107 Section 2, Standards of Proof of Residency or Identity when proof is required. This section shall be liberally construed to permit voters and new registrants to cast a regular ballot. Any doubt as to the sufficiency of proof or a document presented shall be resolved in favor of permitting the voter or new registrant to cast a regular vote. There is no responsibility taken by the Secretary of State to validate citizenship. What this does is it dilutes our vote. It takes away what we have the right to do as a U.S. citizen. Okay, so additional voter issues. Deceased individuals remain on the registers. People who have moved out of California still continue to get ballots. Homeless people are rounded up to vote. They have no permanent address, but they're allowed to use street corners or park addresses, and no process to assure that they are a U.S. citizen. What really set some red flags for me is when we welcomed in 6,000 Afghanistans into 2021. That's awesome, but I have no doubt that they were told or they understood that in order to drive in California, you have to get a driver's license. I have no doubt that there was no process in place to validate whether they were a U.S. citizen. Okay, so, and when you take a broken process and then put a new bill or new rules in through that broken process, you're going to get the same results. So the new bill that Governor Newsom just signed was to allow non-citizens to obtain state IDs. So that with that being said, and the fact that no one verifies citizenship in California, that is just going to be a funnel to make the situation worse. Okay, so I want to address this privacy issue. This is kind of really sends red flags because I've worked globally, I've negotiated global contracts, I've traveled globally, and this was when the Connect CEO was arrested October 4th. He was identified for sending 1.8 million poll worker information to China. Sacramento County does not use Connect poll worker software. However, Sacramento County hires temporary employees to work the elections through temporary agencies. The preferred temporary agency uses a third-party provider, and they obtain temporary employees' information, which includes their IP address, audio, video of the applicant, basically going through an online interview process. And at the end of the privacy statement that they provide to the potential election worker, they state that they send the information or make your information available to the EU, India, South Africa, UK, and also their third-party vendors located in China, Hong Kong, Australia, and many other countries. If this does not send up red flags to anyone in this room or in California, it should. And we need to understand the magnitude of sending our information or making our information available. Okay, so there's one more piece to this. So I recently, in the last couple of weeks, I went online to obtain a copy of a birth certificate. So I go on to the government website and I find a third-party company called VitalCheck. So I checked into VitalCheck, and they are owned by LexisNexis. So I went to LexisNexis website, I looked at their privacy policy, and it basically says, we share your personal information with our affiliates, service providers, data providers, government agencies, et cetera. Then you look at the locations of their affiliates. They are also in Canada, South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. So this means that all of our information is available. Doesn't that bother you? Doesn't that send up a red alert to you? Why would China or why would Europe and Africa, why do they need a copy of or have available to them our birth records or our death records? Isn't that concerning? Why would California allow a third-party company to make our information? Why would they sign a contract and allow that information to be distributed all over the world? I am dumbfounded. And what I ask of you is, this is important. The Dominion systems are important. The fact that they are heavily hackable and easily manipulated. Any computer is. So it's not just the Dominion system, it's any computer. We ask you to please represent your constituents and give them the opportunity to have their vote count. And in doing so, we want the Dominion system gone. We want the old-fashioned one-day voting. That will minimize the opportunity for fraud. And we also ask that everybody cast a ballot and we manually count it. Other countries do it, and they do it in one day. Everybody votes the same day, the counting's done, and by the next day they have a winner or somebody elected. We also want to ask you to hold the Secretary of State accountable for citizenship verification. Again, for your constituents having illegals when it's against the law. I'm not sure how many ways you put it's illegal. It's against the law for people who are not U.S. citizens to vote because, again, it minimizes our votes. So we are asking you to also, I am asking you to also investigate why our personal information is, why we partnered with a third-party vendor and distributes our information worldwide. So you have my information that I provided to you. I'm going to follow up with you by the end of today with my email. I'm also going to give you links to data integrity, all this, the fraud information that had gone on, to make it easily accessible to you. And I'm also going to ask for your feedback to me within maybe a week or two, how long it takes, to understand why our information is being sent all over the world. Okay? Does that sound fair? Yeah, we really need to get a handle on this voter fraud and our privacy. It is just out of control right now. If we don't stop it now, then when are we going to? And if we don't take this seriously now, we will become the country that those illegals are fleeing from. And that is so important to understand. So thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and I will email you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Debra. Okay, those are the off-agenda. That's the presentation. Thank you, Debra, for that. And with that, then we'll go to our